Foundation for 9 million children in refugee camps. Children's Investment Fund Foundation and Unbound Philanthropy, we'd like to thank them for their seed money for our partnership for making this possible, and for their respective commitments to northern Uganda and southern Sudan. The expansion of the Norwegian Refugee Council's innovative accelerating learning program is wonderful. The IRC's expansion of healing classrooms into SED's expansion for their education in southern Sudan. GSM's expansion of wireless connectivity for education in refugee camps in northern Uganda. Valentino H. Deng Foundation's commitment to build a quality secondary boarding school in Sudan. The American Jewish Committee's grassroots efforts for children of Darfur. The Center for Mind-Body Medicine, their expansion of its Healing the Wounds of War education programs in Gaza. The Escuela Nueva Foundation's expansion to provide holistic education to children suffering in Colombia. And finally, in the last couple of weeks, we've been able to inspire this brand new partnership that we're very excited about between UNICEF, Microsoft, Hewlett-Packard, and IRC to provide distance learning for displaced children, including children affected by the Iraqi conflict and the Palestinian children in the occupied territories. Now, I've been wondering exactly how to put this in perspective when I came here today, I talked to Jean about it. I said it's so crazy. We're all here to try to say education is important, and we all know it is, and we're all educated people. So not to compare one effort as more important than the other, but to put things in perspective and maybe help to understand why we maybe need to adjust the way we're doing things in the world. The conflict in Iraq has displaced over 4 million people. There is an appeal from UNICEF and UNHCR to address the education needs of many of these children. The entire appeal equals about 8 hours of current spending in Iraq. For just a few hours, we send 150,000 children to school. And nothing means more hearts and minds, and nothing gives more freedom than education. And nothing is a better deterrent for conflict than an educated society. So we have to get our priorities in order, and there's a lot of work to do, but I'm very happy to be with you. All of you, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for allowing me
to relaunch 9million.org, which is a chance for average people anywhere to help contribute more sports. I encourage you to look throughout this and look at the other projects there, but I hope you will take the time. They're really serious, they're inspiring, and many people made exceptional efforts to raise money, to find partners, to come together and make this $148 million commitment, as Angelina said, in 15 countries, putting over 350,000 children out of school into school, and helping the quality of 650,000 more for a total of 1 million. So with that, we do have some time for questions.
Yeah, I want to ask Angelina Jolie. I'm from Latin America. You mentioned children in Colombia. I want to know if you've had any experience in Latin America, or you're planning to have some contact with Latin American, perhaps children who've been displaced or affected by conflict there.
Yes, I have. A few years ago I went to Ecuador. That was my first experience, and living with Colombians. And to be fair, to be wonderful to speak on this as well. It's a very unique situation, obviously, because most of the people are internally displaced. About 3 million people are internally displaced inside Colombia. The internally displaced people are very hard to reach. It's very difficult to get education to them. It's very hard to get aid to them. So I know that the UNHCR is on the border and inside, but also has programs outside in Ecuador. They're in unmarked buildings because it's quite a security situation. And in Costa Rica, I visited with Colombian children as well, and had Christmas with them, and it's a very moving situation because it's been going on so long. Answers to whether the situation for them is going to change anytime soon, we don't have. And so there have to be, and this is why this is such an interesting thing to speak of today, because we're trying innovative ways to be able to reach those children in very unique circumstances. So yes,
Yes.
I'll be happy to share with you a very important experience we're having in Colombia. We adopted a very well documented experience called the Escuela Nueva, which originated in Colombia many years ago and has been spreading around the region with very successful results. And we have adopted this model for the internally displaced children because of its flexibility. So we identify the children, and we have a bridging transition situation with youth, which are also vulnerable, and we bridge them as a transition to the main school. The main school is also transforming to an Escuela Nueva, and what has been very significant is after 1 year, these children had reached learning achievement beyond the average.
Expenditures are teachers. Yesterday at dinner, the Minister of Education of Afghanistan, the Minister of Education for Kenya, they all had a similar message. If you can't provide help on a long term for education, you should do something else. Because this is not, as Angelina said, children in refugee camp situations are there for 17 years. Schools have to be built, teachers have to be paid, they have to be hired, they have to be trained. This is the same issue that's being dealt with in the healthcare sector, where they're also running against the long-term constraints. These groups can do a lot, but ultimately donor governments are going to have to try to follow the model of, I think, the UK and Gordon Brown and the Netherlands in trying to look for long-term sustainable funding to give these great organizations and the governments they're in the chance to do the long-term funding that they need. Right there.
From Amrita Television in India, I have a question for Angelina. Is there any way we can convince you to spend more time in India? Take a look at some of the conflicts that you're talking about are all overt and have a name associated with it. But there's a larger one that may affect about 300 million children there that is more subtle. It's based on poverty. And I'm wondering if there's any way we can link these two to your efforts here.
Everybody that's doing good work and get everybody working together. So there's nobody who's excluded from this. And so it is certainly, we can only do so much, Jean can only do so much, but we are all, our efforts, the intention of our efforts is to try to reach all of these children at some point. So we will, be asking anybody to join us. If you know of an Indian NGO, if somebody in the Indian government wants to step forward and give us some specifics, or so that's an easy one.
Se acaba de terminar la conferencia que dimos con Angelina Jolie. Bueno, dimos, yo no hice nada. Solo di la cara.